Hello, conference participants. This is a presentation on the topic towards the ethical use of generative AI in higher education, a conceptual model. The paper is written by Dr. Fianu and Dr. Amankwa, Sarfo, both from the Ghana Communication Technology University. So starting with the introduction. There has been a call for ethical leadership in higher education regarding the use of artificial intelligence. So a review of the literature has shown that some authors have suggested that there needs to be some form of ethical leadership regarding how students use AI tools for educational purposes. So that call for ethical leadership is important, and that there has to be that effort that has to be made in that direction. Additionally, several academics are of the opinion that a roadmap for the ethical use of generative AI tools in higher education must be developed. So, apart from the ethical leadership, concrete steps must be taken to have a roadmap towards getting this issue of ethical use of AI resolved. And there must be a roadmap that has to be followed, a clear-cut roadmap. It is very important because the issue of students abusing AI, in the sense that probably not using it or over-relying on it for academic tasks, can be a problem, and that the cognitive skills of these students may be compromised by the improper use of these AI tools. So regarding the problem, it is evident that students are using these AI tools, but the issue is that they use it mostly without ethical considerations. And then because there is no national policy guideline for the ethical use of these tools, there seems to be a problem, because if there's a clear-cut policy guideline, institutions will be bound to follow these guidelines, such that there's still some form of sanity in the use of these tools. So the paper seeks to first identify the ethical issues surrounding the use of generative AI in educational settings from current literature. That means the idea is to get access to current literature on the topic and then identify the ethical issues in there. And then secondly, to construct a conceptual model that captures the key ethical issues surrounding the use of generative AI in this educational setting. So the model should be able to capture the key issues and key stakeholders within the educational space, and then how these ethical issues affect the specific stakeholders. And these must be, if there are relationships between these stakeholders, the model should capture that as well. The theoretical foundation is the deontological theory of ethics, which is also known as the Kantian deontology. And it emphasizes the role of duty and adherence to rules in moral decision-making. Some of the core concepts of the theory are duty, rules, respect for persons, and moral absolutism. So the guiding principle regarding ethics is that there is a need to follow rules that should govern the use of any resource. But for this study, it has to do with generative AI, and that the position of the authors is that the students especially must have that philosophy that will guide them when they are using AI tools for educational purposes. So the methodology is shown in this figure. There are 4 different phases of the methodology, phase 1 to phase 4. So in phase 1, identify studies related to the ethical use of generative AI in educational settings. Phase 2, review the papers on the ethical use of generative AI in educational settings. Phase 3, identify the themes from phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 4, develop a conceptual model for the ethical use of generative AI in higher education. So first, relevant publications must be identified and accessed. These are reviewed to bring out themes which will be used to develop the conceptual model. So in accessing related publications, these sources were used: Scopus, Emerald, and the Web of Science, among others. Search strings such as ethical use of generative AI in education, AI ethics in educational context, artificial intelligence ethics in teaching and learning, generative AI and ethical concerns in higher education, and responsible AI use in schools and universities. These are some of the search strings that were used. And then Boolean operators were also employed to refine the search results, and quotation marks were used to search for exact phrases. So after accessing these publications and reviewing them, these are some of the themes that came out, and the sources in terms of the papers that were consulted. So we have themes such as accuracy of generative AI tools, and these are the authors. AI authorship in scientific writing, these are the authors. Self-supervision, justice, that's for content owners. Non-maleficence, beneficence, misleading information, irreproducibility, privacy concerns, educational assessment, that's cheating and integrity. Educational assessment, we have devaluation of the role of human teachers as evaluators, potential to replace human interaction and expertise, bias resulting from training data sets, security concerns, value of creativity, safety, data exploitation or data ownership. We have responsibility, accountability, blame, and credit. So these are some of the things that came out. So based on these, on the themes, the authors constructed a conceptual model, and the central theme or the central stakeholder is generative AI. Okay, so we have students and researchers as stakeholders, internet users, general internet users, lecturers and teachers also as stakeholders. Now, you can see that these bi-directional relationships between the stakeholders. So for instance, for students and researchers, the ethical concerns, considerations are AI authorship in academic or scientific writing, plagiarism, value of creativity, privacy concerns, security, safety, responsibility, and accountability. For general internet users, we have privacy concerns, security, safety, data ownership, and justice. For generative AI, we have accuracy, self-supervision, non-maleficence, beneficence, misleading information, irreproducibility, replacing humans, algorithmic bias, data exploitation, potential to replace human interaction and expertise. For lecturers or teachers, we have educational assessments, that's cheating or integrity, AI replacing humans, responsibility and accountability. So the model is a convergence of these ethical issues, and that at a glance, interested parties can actually look at the ethical concerns that pertain to specific stakeholders, and that these are also interrelated. So in conclusion, the model emphasizes that the use of generative AI in higher education involves complex ethical challenges impacting various stakeholders. The bidirectional relationship suggests that the adoption and ethical governance of generative AI require continuous interaction, dialogue, and mutual influence among these groups. Each stakeholder must consider their role in ensuring responsible and ethical AI use, while generative AI technology itself must be developed and implemented with awareness of these diverse ethical implications. Okay, so in a nutshell, these ethical issues must be known, they must be addressed, and also in the development of these AI tools, the ethical concerns raised within the generative AI as a stakeholder itself should be considered, especially in the development of these AI tools. So the way forward, the paper presents a conceptual model that can serve as a springboard for further discussions on the roadmap for the ethical use of generative AI in higher education. So there may be other models out there, but the contribution of the paper is to present a conceptual model from the perspective of the authors that can serve as a springboard. So there has to be a roadmap, as it is now, there is no clear-cut roadmap, and that roadmap would have to culminate in the formation of certain policy guidelines in the use of these, for the ethical use of these tools. The further research needs to be done to provide the necessary inputs for a national policy framework. So this paper is a preliminary study that can be a resource for further studies on the ethical use of AI in higher education. Thank you.